Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Volume 2, Episode 1 of the NFL Talk series, Team by Team Previews. This is overall episode number 5, our 15 preview, and today we move into the AFC North, where we will talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. My team, of course, if you have listened to the show before, if you listened to it in the past, you'll know Pittsburgh Steelers are my team. Hopefully I won't be that biased when we start talking about them. A little bit of housekeeping to get to. I've got some news and notes. If you listened to yesterday's podcast, you may have heard of the recent poll that I decided to put up. Does Ryan Fitzpatrick look like a tennis ball? That's what the Jet Center Nick Mangold said about Fitzpatrick's new hairdo, and I was quick to note that he's one to talk. Fitzpatrick, while he may look like a tennis ball, Mangold's not that far off. Mangold has quite a beard as well. Nonetheless, I've attached a picture of Fitzpatrick, his new hairdo, his beard, on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. You can check that out. Vote on the poll. Does he look like a tennis ball? And that poll will be open all throughout the month of August. Also, we recently reached our 1,000th play on Spreaker. Big milestone for the show. Thank you guys for your incredible support, and I hope that you'll continue to listen to the shows as we continue on this long journey. Also, Tyler Noss and Tyler Noss is host of the T-Noss Music Show. He also is a co-host with me on Youth News. He and I have decided to start a fantasy football league for fans of this show and of Youth News. So, be sure to comment your email address on any one of our posts on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+, and we will be sure to add you to our fantasy football league. So, let us know if you'd like to do that. Also, don't forget, coming up, starting this Monday, we will be doing two... You know what, I'll make it one a week. One Twitter account to follow a week, and you guys will hopefully find them helpful. There'll be NFL-based Twitter accounts that you guys can check out. One of the ones that I've followed, well, actually all of them are going to be accounts that I've followed. Hopefully you guys will find them interesting. You'll enjoy them. That will start this coming week. All right, let's break down. Pittsburgh Steelers is the team that we're talking about today. Like I said, they're my team. I might be biased, but I'll try not to be. That's the best I can do. Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger came out and said a couple of months ago that he wants the Steelers to go for 2-point conversions after every touchdown this season. He said, quote, "Why not? Put it in our hands. I want the ball. Any player would relish that opportunity," unquote. If you guys remember last year, the Steelers did convert the most 2-pointers in the league last season. They executed 8. The next best team only had 4. They also led the league with 11 2-point attempts. Look, I think this is a great idea for the Steelers. Especially last year when they were struggling with Josh Scobie at kicker. Now they have Chris Boswell, who will be starting for them, which he's obviously a better kicker than Scobie, but not, what this does for Roethlisberger's fantasy value is it dramatically, I think, increases. I mean, as dramatically as it can when he's putting 2-pointers on the board every game. Because if they do go for 2, which most likely won't happen every game, but if they decide to go for 2 every game, I think that more likely than not, they can convert most all of them. And if you're adding on another 2, maybe even 4 points a game for Roethlisberger, and his fantasy value is going to skyrocket. So I like Roethlisberger even more in fantasy if they decide to do this. I don't think they'll go for it every single touchdown, but I love the decision by the Steelers because they're still an explosive offense, and this is great news for anyone targeting Roethlisberger or anyone who already owns Roethlisberger. What's bad news for Roethlisberger and for the rest of the Pittsburgh Steelers is that, of course, Martavis Bryant is going to be absent from the Pittsburgh Steelers this entire year. The Steelers' offense scored almost 6.5 fewer points a game without Martavis Bryant on the field over the last 2 seasons. Bryant's absence is going to be a significant downgrade for almost all of the Pittsburgh Steelers' weapons, including, I think, Antonio Brown, because Brown's going to draw more attention with Bryant out of the lineup. I mean, he'll probably get more targets, but that is not the main thing that I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the coverage that Brown's going to get. Now, granted, not many people can cover Brown one-on-one, but he might get double coverage more often with Bryant out of the lineup. Marcus Wheaton, however, is a guy that I really like as a low-end wide receiver 2, even at the highest. More wide receiver 3 flex option, but I do like Marcus Wheaton because I think that still most of the attention will be focused on Antonio Brown, and he's going to get open, I think. He had a solid season last year, pulling up his stats here. Now, Wheaton did come out and say he's not sure what his role is going to be following the year-long suspension of Bryant. Last year, Wheaton, caught 44 balls, 749 yards, and 5 touchdowns, so not too shabby of a year. Averaged almost 50 yards a game, and he's going to see an increased role, increased looks with Bryant out. However, the Pittsburgh Tribune did report that Marcus Wheaton has a, quote, 10% chance of re-signing with the Steelers next year. So that's worth keeping an eye on. But I still think he's a talented player, and we'll definitely see an uptick in targets with Wheaton gone. Antonio Brown, number 1 wide receiver as he always is. But Le'Veon Bell is one of the most interesting players in terms of fantasy because we don't really know what his final stat line is going to look like at the end of the season. He'll miss the first month. Is he going to be able to rebound and put up running back 1 kind of numbers? I don't think so. There are running backs I like more than him in fantasy. David Johnson, Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson, guys like that. Devontae Freeman even, possibly, that I like better than Le'Veon Bell. But he's still a top 10 running back, RB1, and if you can take Bell and D'Angelo Williams, you're set. That's your number 1 back right there. Still like Bell, but listen, the Steelers are just suffering from stupidity right now with the suspension of Bryant and Bell. Steelers' season would be almost in the tubes if Bell got suspended somehow the entire year. Look, I don't know what Bell was thinking, skipping 4 drug tests unless he knew that he was overdosing, and simply skipped them in an effort to potentially avoid suspension. But he probably didn't know that skipping a drug test is the same as failing a drug test in NFL terms. So, props for trying, but all in all, that was pretty stupid for Le'Veon to do. With Bryant out, recently acquired Ladarius Green looks to also get into the mix. However, he is currently laid up with an ankle injury. Ladarius Green's January surgery placed 2 plates into his ankle. Green opened camp on the active/pup list because he's not, quote, not yet full strength in certain areas such as cutting, unquote. But ESPN's Jeremy Fowler doesn't see why he won't be ready for week 1, according to Roto World. So, we may not see a 100% healthy Ladarius Green right out of the bat in week 1, but chances are Ladarius Green is going to be a high-end tight end too, especially in that offense. He will likely replace Heath Miller. I mean, he'll do his best to, but in the way that he'll get those red zone looks. And looking at Ladarius Green in fantasy, if you want to look elsewhere as your in other positions as your best picks, you want to stack up in quarterback, wide receiver, running back, any of those areas, Ladarius Green is a fine place to go as a sleeper, especially in deeper leagues. So yeah, I really expect Ladarius Green will have a solid season. Don't see any issue there. Like I said, may not be 100% healthy, but he did sign him to a 4-year, $20 million contract, which that's not too shabby. So I expect that the Steelers knew what they were doing when they signed Ladarius Green. Some of the other wide receivers worth keeping an eye on: Sammy Coates Darius Hayward-Bay is obviously going to be in there. Shacklin Phillips, who I really liked last preseason when I was watching him play. He didn't get a lot of work in the regular season, but those are some guys to keep an eye on to try to step up and replace Marcus Wheaton. There's a good chance that one of those guys will emerge as a fantasy sleeper later in the year. Chris Boswell, I love as a kicker as well, and D'Angelo Williams. Look, D'Angelo Williams is going to do great, and I mentioned this in previous shows, but Williams last year, when Bell was suspended for the first 2 games, Williams in weeks 1 and 2 rushed 41 times for 200 and 4 with 3 touchdowns and 5 receptions. In lieu of a suspended Le'Veon Bell, track record, despite small sample size, weighs in favor of D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo is going to be fine, and I think that in the first 4 weeks, he's going to be very solid for the Steelers. I don't think that they should have any concern with Williams replacing him. I love D'Angelo Williams. He's a cool dude. Now I'm going to move on to the X Factor and the record prediction for the Steelers. I'm going to try not to be biased, but looking at their schedule here, their season is not all that difficult. Obviously, they play the Bengals twice, and they've had trouble with the Ravens, especially last year. But the only game that's really sticking out to me as an incredibly difficult game is Week 7. They're home to the Patriots. I'm giving them a 12-4 record. I think that's what they're going to come out of the season with, and I think they'll nab that division title as well. I think that the Bengals will be competing all year, and the Steelers play the Bengals in Week 15, which I think at Cincinnati, the Steelers' primetime game, December 18th, Week 15, at Cincinnati, that's going to be a key matchup. The final 3 games for the Steelers are division games. Those are going to be 3 key matchups, but especially Week 15 at Cincinnati, that is going to be an important one. So keep an eye out and watch that game. I know I will be. And as for the X Factor, I'm giving it to the entire Steelers secondary. The one key piece missing in the Pittsburgh Steelers' Stairway to 7 formula. If Artie Burns can help the Steelers secondary out, great. But I want to look to the guys that are already there before I lay it all on the rookie. Guys like Mike Mitchell, Antoine Blake, Cortez Allen. Can they step their game up and help guys out like Artie Burns, who's just joining the team? That'll be key to the Steelers' championship formula come the start of the 2016 season. Thanks for listening, guys. This has been Episode 1 of Volume 2 and overall Episode number 5. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll check out Volume 1 of the series as well. Vote on the poll on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. Does Ryan Fitzpatrick look like a tennis ball? I'll give you the results coming up at the end of August. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow on NFL Talk.